Now, WJZ's Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health.
You're taking a live look at M&T Bank Stadium, home of the Baltimore Ravens, who are one of the hottest teams in football right now. Hello and welcome into Purple Connection. I'm Grace Grill, filling in as host tonight for Alex Glaze, but he will be joining us live here shortly from Jimmy's Famous Seafood, but we've got lots to get to tonight. The Ravens are 3-0 since the bye week after picking up a big win in Minnesota. Not an easy environment to go and play in, and it wasn't exactly easy for the Ravens, too. Tyler Loop made 4 straight field goals before the Ravens finally found the end zone in the third quarter, but the Ravens defense played their best game of the season to help secure a 27-19 win over the Vikings.
I think partially what got us to 1-5 was the fact that we came into the season maybe thinking, I'm not speaking for everybody, but we're the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. Teams are just going to lay down and let us win games, and that's not how it is in this league. So we got punched in the mouth early in the season, but now I think we're responding well, and we'll just have that scar tissue going forward when we just start stacking wins.
All right, let's welcome in our lineup for tonight's show. Alex Glaze is joining us live from Jimmy's Famous Seafood, where he was hosting a special Meet the Birds event tonight with Nate Wiggins. We'll hear more from that event tonight on WJZ News at 11. And we've got Tim Varvalis from 105.7 The Fan with us here in studio. Guys, I like the honesty out of Kyle Hamilton. I guess I'll start out with you, Alex, at our live location. What was your takeaways from Sunday's game?
Yeah. The defense is back. I mean, all season long it feels like one of the big question marks around this team is just what's going on with the defense. But since the bye week, this team has really turned a corner on that side of the ball. 7 turnovers in those 3 weeks. 3 of them yesterday, 2 interceptions, and that fumble recovery. We're going to talk about that more, I'm sure, throughout the night. But all those turnovers, I should say, they were able to turn those into points, and that's a big deal because that's something that this team really was struggling with through the first couple of weeks of this season. So when we're talking about just momentum and energy, the defense has the ability to really control a lot of that, and they have when they're forcing those turnovers and converting that into points.
Tim, how about you? What was your main takeaway from Sunday's victory?
Oh, it has to be the defense. And to piggyback off what Alex said, look, we've been talking about the pass rush or lack thereof all season long. They only got 1 sack of J.J. McCarthy, but it was consistent pressure. They hit him 12 times in that football game. They got their hands on the football a lot. 14 passes defensed, and including 4 that were knocked down from the defensive line with the active hands up in their pass rush. So the defense was very impressive. They were able to get off the football field, holding the Vikings 3 of 14 on 3rd down, and also had 3 4th down stops as well.
Yeah, J.J. McCarthy said after the game that the defense threw the Ravens defense threw the kitchen sink at them. Alex, I guess I'll start too. I mean, we talked about the pressure, but also holding Jefferson and Addison to 53 yards. I mean, that's pretty impressive too to lock those guys down.
Absolutely, and we're talking. I just talked to Nate Wiggins here at Jimmy's. We just did a Meet the Birds segment, and the story was, he wanted to follow Jefferson around, and he wanted to follow Devontae Adams around. Like, this is a guy that is the Ravens' bona fide top corner, and he's developed and he's become that this year, really taken that big step forward. To hold their own in that way against those 2 guys. I mean, 2 of the best receivers in this game. That's a statement for this secondary. I mean, this is a secondary that is littered with first-round guys, but really struggled in the early parts of the season. And, I mean, we've talked about it kind of extensively over the past couple of weeks, but the addition of Alohi Gilman and the way he has impacted this defense, I think now these guys are playing free. They're playing with a lot of confidence. Malachi Starks has interceptions in back-to-back games. Marlon Humphrey, who's kind of struggled with catching interceptions, played with it looked like a dang club on his hand. He caught an interception, yesterday. So the interceptions are contagious, and, this secondary, I mean, they've got to be one of, if not the best secondaries in football right now.
Yeah, it was also you touched on the addition of Alohi Gilman, but also the addition of Draymond Jones. Tim, John Harbaugh said today that he got all of his assignments right. What was your impression of him in his debut?
I thought he was very active. He had 2 quarterback hits, 4 pressures, and you saw him rush inside and rush outside. I think it's a big addition to this defense. And really, we've seen the Ravens be out-physicaled in a lot of these football games, particularly early on in the season. But it was their defensive line that played a great game. Travis Jones, I thought, had an awesome game in the middle as well.
Alex, we're kind of flipping the script, moving to offense a little bit. We've always been concerned about the defense and their slow start to the season. But this offense, though they're putting up points, maybe not where they wanted to be. Took them a little bit to get going yesterday.
Yeah, guys, listen, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's an unreasonable standard. You know, no, it's not. This is the standard that we have and that they have for themselves. This is a Super Bowl winning team, right? This is a team that expects to be playing in February. They are still struggling to run the football. The offensive line is a problem. Daniel Faalele is a problem. It's been a problem for weeks. I don't know how you address it right now as we enter this is week 11, but it's going to be a problem in January, late December, when these games, I mean, they matter now, but when these games really matter, especially when you make it to the playoffs, I mean, they have to be able to run the football. And right now, Derrick Henry is not able to do that. He's getting touched in the backfield more than almost any other back in the league right now, and it's because of the offensive line. So, Tim, I'm curious just kind of how you think this team can fix that right now so late in the season.
I'm not so sure that they can, but I think what you really saw in that game yesterday was it was affecting the passing game as well. And we know that Brian Flores is an extremely aggressive defensive coordinator, blitzed Lamar Jackson the 5th highest rate in his career. And Lamar, it was catch and ball out. He had among his quickest throws 2.5 seconds or less out of his hand in his career, and he didn't attempt to pass more than 20 yards downfield. It was a lot of dink and dunk, and I think that was Todd Monken not really having a lot of faith in his offensive line to hold up.
Well, it's crazy to think that
we also saw that.
Go ahead, Alex.
I was going to say we also saw that lack of trust in the offensive line on the 3rd down call to ice the game,
Yes.
that rollout pass. I mean, there's no way if you have even a shred of trust in your run game that you can get 3 yards, that you don't run that football. I mean, they gave Minnesota a free 40 seconds by passing it and not completing that pass. Obviously, you know, they were aggressive in trying to go for it, but that's the tell that they know that they can't run the football in that moment, that they didn't even they didn't have a run call that they felt like could work right there.
Well, I think the Ravens would be the first to tell you that there's still a lot to fix, but crazy to think that after the Ravens 1-5 start, they are still in this thing. They've gotten a little help from their division, but still. So let's take a look at the AFC North as it stands today. The Ravens are still 1 game behind the Steelers, but some sportsbook have them as the heavy favorites to now win the division. Browns and Bengals pretty much non-factors at this point, but sportsbook like the Ravens, and guys, you got to think you two do as well, especially with their next 3 opponents.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Look, the Steelers have some significant issues going on right now. Aaron Rodgers looked like a 41-year-old quarterback last night against the Chargers. We know that defense has really, really struggled, but the Steelers are finding it's very difficult for them to win right now unless their defense forces 6 turnovers like they did against the Colts or 5 turnovers like they did against the Patriots. And right now, the Ravens' soft schedule continues. You're facing a really struggling Browns team upcoming with a young, inexperienced quarterback in Dylan Gabriel, and then the Jets immediately after that.
Alex?
Yeah, I mean, as bigger picture, 5 of these last 8 games are against division opponents. You know, the Ravens, if they want to win the division, if they do win the division, it's going to be because they took it. If they don't win the division, it's because they let it slip. It's just that simple. I mean, they control their own destiny in this situation. That's the spot you want to be in. So, I mean, you got to believe, given what we've seen the past couple of weeks, especially out of the bye and just the change on the defensive side, that this team can do it. But, I mean, we saw the reports today. Joe Burrow coming back. Jay Glazer is reporting Thanksgiving-ish after saying Thanksgiving, so who knows what that's about. But, you know, let's just assume Joe Burrow is able to come back late November, early December, and the Bengals are still somewhat in the mix. I mean, there's a lot of football still ahead, but I think that the Ravens have to like the position they're in because they do control their own destiny.
Too much parity in the league this season for anybody to feel safe. But we got to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're playing a round of What's the Word? So keep it here. We got more Purple Connection after this.
The Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. This is The Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health.
Well, welcome back to Purple Connection. I'm Grace Grill, and we've got Alex Glaze live from Jimmy's Famous Seafood and Tim Barbalace here in studio. Guys, it's time to play What's the Word, where I'll toss out a phrase and you will have to fill in the blanks. Let's go with our first one for What's the Word. The Ravens' win over the Vikings was, Alex, we'll start with you.
Blah. Can I say that? Is that a real word? I don't have my dictionary in front of me. It was blah, right? I mean, it's the Vikings. It's a good win, obviously, and it's what you want, right? The Ravens have won 3 straight, but I'm looking bigger picture, and when we're talking about where this team could be and should be, there were still the same glaring issues that I saw back in Week 1 against Buffalo. This is a team that struggled to ice the game. I guess they could run the football against Buffalo, but they couldn't run the football yesterday. Inconsistent offensive line play. And some of the coaching decisions really kind of a little puzzling there. So just a blah win for me, big picture.
Tim?
I'll say it was a win. And look, you're not going to apologize for wins, especially after you start the season 1-5. But yesterday for me was more the Vikings losing that football game because it was just self-destruction after self-destruction after self-destruction. When you have 8 false starts at home, that is completely unacceptable. They turned the ball over 3 times, 3 turnover on downs on 4th downs. It was a lot of Vikings miscues. And look, the Ravens, they didn't have any of their own mistakes. And we've seen them lose those type of football games where they were beating themselves early on in the season, where it was a 3rd straight game. They didn't turn the ball over. They got those turnovers, and they did just enough. The offense, they would definitely say it was not their A game, but it was enough for a win.
I'm kind of with you. There's a theme here. My word is fine. It was fine. I was calling this maybe, is this are the Ravens back game? I don't know that I was convinced of that, but they got the job done, and that was kind of the main goal as they try to get back to 500. All right, our next What's the Word phrase. Blank is the Ravens' biggest problem in the red zone. Alex, we'll start with you. You were talking about some of those problems. The red zone was one of them.
I think attitude. Attitude is the biggest problem in the red zone for me. This is a franchise that prides itself on toughness and grit and, being that hammer. And I just don't see that in the red zone from this team. They know that they struggle to run the football consistently this year. That is very apparent when they get in the red area because it seems like they try to do anything but run the football. And it's sad that, it's not a guarantee that you're going to get 7 points when you're inside the 5-yard line on 1st down. And it's just kind of where we're at right now. So I think attitude, big problem with this red zone offense right now.
Yeah, it sort of goes hand in hand with what you're saying, Alex. It's short yardage. Short yardage situations have just killed this team, where Derrick Henry, among qualified backs, he's the worst in short yardage situations, in efficiency, in success rate, and it's hard to comprehend, especially now that Patrick Ricard is back. But you mentioned that 3rd trip inside the red zone where it was 1st and goal at the 4. Derrick Henry runs into the line, gets no gain. And at that point, it just seemed, okay, well, they're going to settle for a field goal. And that's what happened.
Yeah, I would say finishing, right? It's just like the glaring one. It's just like, okay, we can put together these drives, you get a little momentum, and then you can't punch it in. And it's frustrating watching them try to finish some of those drives. All right, on a more positive note, they are 3-0 since the bye week. So the Ravens' playoffs hopes are, Alex?
Self-determined. They control their destiny. 5 of the next 8 games are against AFC North opponents. If you want to make the playoffs, the path is simple. Win those games, win the division. You're hosting a playoff game. How about that, guys? We're talking about a team that started 1-5, hosting a playoff game. That's the reality of where this team could and should be.
That's a new upping the bar. Tim, what's your word?
I'll just go with simply rising. And it's been rising each week. And I remember when the Ravens were 1-4, I think they were still the favorites in the AFC North. And Vegas has always really liked them. They were 4.5-point favorites against the Vikings. They covered there easily. Part of it is I have no faith in the Steelers. I think that they are very fraudulent and they don't really have anything they can hang their hat on offensively or defensively. And this Ravens team is starting to find itself. Its defense is really starting to play with that confidence and swagger. And their schedule, it's pretty soft, and they have those 5 division games, so it's all in front of them.
Alex used a hyphenated word, and I feel like since I'm hosting, I have to do right by him and use a hyphenated word. So I'm just going to say within reach. I think there's a couple in there, but yeah, I mean, not much more to say. It's just kind of incredible that from where they started, it's encouraging to know that, like, hey, they have gotten not everything, but things back on track where we are now talking about this confidently, is what I would say. All right, that is the word on this Monday night. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will take a quick look around the league and the weekend's top stories. Keep it here.
The Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. The League Checkup, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. Care bravely.
Welcome back to Purple Connection. Another big weekend of football filled with upsets and surprises. So it's time for our league checkup. And there's a lot to discuss. Starting today, the news coming down that the Giants have parted ways with Brian Daboll. That was a big news today. And then over the weekend, I mean, gosh, Jonathan Taylor, 244 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Falcons overseas in Berlin. And then Drake May, he was making a case for MVP, as is the guy I just mentioned, but he is an emerging favorite after the Patriots beat the Bucs. And then how about that one there at the bottom? Dolphins beat the Bills 30-13. Alex, I'll start out there with you. I know you got thoughts. We have been talking about how Jonathan Taylor hasn't been talked about enough. We got some Colts fans in the buildings. We got to shout out our producer, Ashley. Her dad, Rich, is watching, so hello, Rich. So I hope you enjoyed this segment. Alex, Jonathan Taylor, making a case for MVP.
Making a case. I mean, he is the MVP right now. I mean, just what a performance from Jonathan Taylor. Before we get into him, I love the international games. I love waking up on Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, 9:30.
Football.
We have a game on, and then it's just from 9:30 until like 11:30 p.m. It's just nonstop football. So I'm all about extending my football Sunday. But Jonathan Taylor, 244 rushing yards in Germany, in Berlin. I mean, the folks there, they haven't seen anybody run like that since the 1936 Olympic Games when Jesse Owens went to town out there. I mean, Jonathan Taylor put on an absolute show. I mean, what a game for him. What a showing from the Colts to come out and get that win. Just really impressed from what I've seen from Jonathan Taylor over the past couple weeks.
I mean, we were getting ready for our pregame show, and I walked back up, and I saw him rip off that 83-yard touchdown, and we were all just like, oh, my gosh. Just a quick fact, with that touchdown, he became the Colts all-time leader in rushing touchdowns, and if he does win it, he would be the first running back to win it since Adrian Peterson to win the MVP in 2012. But jumping on to one of our other topics, Tim, I know you have thoughts about this. Dolphins taking down the Bills. Woo.
It just shows you what a week-to-week league it is, because that Dolphins team that the Ravens just played the prior Thursday night, where they just absolutely dominated that second half, to say the very next week they would beat Buffalo, I would have said you're crazy. And especially considering the fact that Mike McDaniel, he had to call a timeout before they even ran a play. It was 15 minutes to go in the first quarter. He used a timeout. Tua threw an interception on the first drive. But then from that point on, the Dolphins dominated that football game. And Devon Achane, he ran for over close to 180 yards. The Bills are a very vulnerable football team right now.
I said it earlier in the show. I just
really quick, Grace, before you go. I was just talking to Nate actually about that game, and with the Browns coming up, with the Jets coming up, he just said that's kind of like the wake-up call. Like, there's no cupcakes in this league. Like, you have to show up every single game. So just that kind of it sounds like it got everyone's attention. That was a big game.
Yeah, and Alex, look, the Vikings just went into Detroit and beat the Lions the prior game, and that team it was mistake-filled game against the Ravens. They just went into Detroit the prior week and beat the Lions off a bye week. It just tells you what a week-to-week league it is, especially this year.
Real quick, we'll touch on one of the other topics there. Drake May also emerging as MVP candidate. Just thoughts on that game and then taking down the Bucs. Alex?
I don't know. I mean, I understand why there's the hype around Drake May right now. I certainly understand, or I don't want to say surprised, but he's definitely taken a big step forward this year. The Patriots definitely have their guy. I just think there's so many other guys that are playing MVP caliber football. I don't want to throw that term around for everybody.
And to maybe,
Drake, he's playing good football. He's playing good football.
Yeah, and obviously Mike Vrabel down there too, working with him
Absolutely.
too. That's got to be a huge thing in his success.
No, absolutely. And that Patriots team, one of the biggest surprises in the NFL, and they put the league on notice when they went into Buffalo and won that game a few weeks back. But May is the MVP favorite when you look at the odds makers with Matthew Stafford in second. I probably would lean towards Matthew Stafford for MVP. If Jonathan Taylor doesn't get it, which he should, but we know that MVP, unfortunately, it's most valuable quarterback instead of most valuable player.
I mean, either way, they went in there and beat.
How about this?
Go ahead. I was just saying
I
they
was
went
just
in
going to
there
say,
and
how
beat a
about
good
this? While we're
Bucs
having
team.
the MVP, absolutely. If we're having the MVP talk, and the producers aren't in my ear, so that's why I also like being on this side right now. If we're having that conversation, Lamar Jackson. If Lamar is able to bring this Ravens team back from the dead and put them into position to be the 4 seed in the AFC, I think there's a real conversation, especially when you look at the kind of year that he's having number-wise, to put him in that MVP conversation as well. So a lot of guys playing that high-level football right now.
It's all part of the plot, right? He didn't win it last year, so he had to do something unthinkable. That's part of the narrative.
It's possible.
It's all narrative-driven. It's all stories. It's awesome.
It's possible. I think the games that he ended up missing will end up costing him, but I think he could make it interesting, though.
All right, real quick, the news about Brian Daboll coming down. Shocked or not shocked this part of the season?
I would say not shocked. I'll be honest with you. That collapse that the Giants had against the Broncos a couple weeks ago, I thought that Daboll could have been fired after that game. They were the feel-good story with Scadaboo and Dart when they beat the Eagles, but they've really fallen off, especially since Scadaboo got hurt in that second Eagles game. But the Giants they've been a mess for years now, and it's time for a reset.
Alex?
Not shocked, but what does shock me about the move is that the GM was not fired as well. That's the shocking part about all of this, that they separated Daboll from that. But I'm somewhat shocked at the timing, but not the move in general.
Just a lot of chaos mid-season. But all right, we are going to take another quick break, but when we come back, we will wrap up the show with our game day advice. Keep it here.
A Purple Connection, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. And now, game day advice, brought to you by Rice Law. For the best advice, call Rice.
And welcome back to Purple Connection. Let's wrap up the show with some game day advice. They're on the road playing a divisional opponent in the Browns. First game day advice, keep the Browns down. They've lost 2 straight. Let's make it 3. And the odds are good for the Ravens with the Browns being 0-3 in the division this year. And then the Ravens are also 9-4 against them with Lamar as the starter. Guys, just they beat them once. Let's do it again. Alex?
Division games are weird. I think that, and I know we've talked about it in the last block, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but division games, anything can happen. The Dolphins just beat the Bills, and I'm sure that in Owings Mills that's being talked about, and that the guys are being put on notice that, hey, you're not going to be able to sleepwalk through these next couple of weeks. So you got to take the Browns seriously.
All right, we got to move on to our fan chat question of the week. So here is the question that we want you to answer for us. You can connect with us on social media. But what has been the biggest factor in the Ravens turnaround? Tim, I'll send this one to you.
It's very simple to me, and it's turnover differential. The Ravens, since the bye week, the 3 games, they're +7. The Ravens offense hasn't turned the ball over at all, and they've forced 7 turnovers. And you add that all together, you're 3-0 in this stretch, and you're a game behind the Steelers for first place in the AFC North.
Alex, you buying into this defense yet?
Absolutely. I was going to say defense, and I really want to give credit to Zach Orr and John Harbaugh for sticking by Zach Orr at a time when it probably wasn't easy. A few short weeks ago, a lot of people, not me, were calling for Zach Orr's job, thinking they needed to make a change there. John Harbaugh stuck by his guy, and this defense is really thriving right now.
Yeah, John Harbaugh touched on it today. He said it wasn't even just one change that they did. It was just the steadiness that group could make it through the turmoil.
Yeah, and it's crazy that we've seen this 2 straight years at this point, because the defense was on fire through the first 10 games of last year, among the worst in all of football. And then, of course, the first 5 games of the season this year, giving up 37 points or more in 4 of those 5 games. But since then, 58 points in their last 4 games.
Alex, quick final thought?
Just keep it rolling. Defense is playing defense football. Lamar's back. No excuses.
All right, we'll keep it rolling in Cleveland next week. But thank you for joining us for this week's Purple Connection. We'll see you back here next week, same time.